Listen up, Gotham.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Hiya, Buttons. It's me, Harley Quinn.
This is Batman.
This is Robin.
Tune into the Bat Fanatic podcast.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast.
The Bat Fanatic Podcast with Sammy Warmhands.
With Sammy Warmhands.
The Bat Fan Addict Podcast. Bat Fan Addict Podcast.
Although, Sam, you might think about changing the name.
Hey everybody, it's the Dark Knight of Rap, Sammy Warmhands, and this is the Bat Fanatic Podcast. As always, I'll be joined by my co-hosts, Grandpa Batman and Slam Dunk Dave. But first, we've always got to shout out our friend and sponsor, the Nando Knight from TNK Comics and Collectibles. You can follow on Instagram for his claim sales and a convention schedule of upcoming appearances at the Nando Knight, Knight. Or for some of his current inventory, go to shortbox.com/TNK Comics. Now today, we got a little bit chatty, had some fun stories for the first 15 minutes, and then we dive back into the Burtonverse with the comic book spinoff by SAM HAMM and JOE QUINONES. This is Batman 89.
Sam, I don't know where you grew up, but I pick out some...
I know what you're going to say.
You may have grown up somewhere like in New York or somewhere.
I love this. We have to start the show here.
Am I wrong?
Go on.
When I first started listening to you, I thought, okay, here's another guy from the Northeast.
He's an outsider.
Then you got me with my Hank Hill hillbilly twang.
And the flat butt, shoulder to the floor. I was born and raised in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay.
On my album Bears Repeating, I have a song where I say,
I watched so many episodes of The Sopranos that in 2007 I developed an accent.
Like, I literally binged the whole Sopranos for the first time when I was about 21, 22. It just imprinted on my brain, and I can't do the accent. I can't just do it. But involuntarily, especially when I get worked up, if I start yelling at you, I mean, fucking, like, I will roll into that.
Cocksucker.
I mean, I've always been a flagrant fuck user, but like, I just mean, like, I'll start talking out the side of my mouth and shit, like I'll do that stuff involuntarily. Or like, I binged the Ricky Gervais show Extras once. I was thinking in a British accent. I can't do one, but it was so ingrained in me. But for whatever reason, the East Coast thing has never gone away. And I'm 38 now. I was about 21 at the time. It's never gone away. And I have met countless people from the East Coast. I had a bandmate that was from Jersey, and he's like, hey, what part of Jersey are you from? I'm like, I'm not. I've had this so many times, so it always cracks me up.
It could also be like, you're a student of the rap game. So it's like a lot of New York influence also helps.
That's true.
And geared towards that.
Yeah, growing up
the first thing I thought
on East Coast rap for sure. But it really didn't happen until I got super into like Sopranos and De Niro films and all that kind of stuff that I just went through like a 6-month fucking binge, and it just fucked me up forever.
That's funny you say that, because my wife, she binge watched The Wire.
Oh, yeah.
And when you meet her, you're going to love her sweet Southern accent, because she has a drawl. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was so much of a drawl that, when the iPhones first came out and they had the voice activated where you could talk text.
Didn't understand her.
It wouldn't understand her. I can't get this thing to go to understand anything I'm saying. So she's watching The Wire. And I mean, like you said, when you watch something and you binge something and you love something, it starts getting ingrained. And
yeah.
Here's my sweet wife driving down the road. You motherfucker. No.
She's driving down going, Omar coming.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, man, when you spend so many hours consuming something, the way that it subtly just infiltrates or like before you got here, me and Dave are talking, he's quoting himself from earlier today. He's like, bro, dead ass, if blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, see, that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. When you are so inundated with a certain, whether it's an accent or you see so much of language being used a certain way online or whatever, that it just starts coming out.
Oh, yeah. I deal with a lot of my clients from California right now. It's almost like I'm listening to that Saturday Night Live skit.
The
When they're
Californians?
Like, yes. Californians are getting on the 101 to the 5. I mean, it's just like, oh, my God.
Okay, that's crazy. How do you know that the 101 and the 5 are West Coast highways and interstates?
I've been to L.A. a lot.
Okay.
Same. We just know, especially the 101, bro. You get some really nice views.
Those go all the way up to here where I'm at. So.
Yeah, dude. Have you ever driven in Los Angeles?
Lots of times on tour, yeah.
Sure.
I may have already told you this story once. There's a band that I love from the UK, Stereophonics. Have you heard them?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Okay. They never tour in the US, ever. And they put out a new album. They set up an East Coast run and a West Coast run. And I was like, hallelujah, I'm going to go see them.
Nice.
Me and a friend, we agreed, okay, I'll meet you in LA. I'll book the hotel and we'll go to the show. Well, he stands me up.
Aw.
I fly out there. I got to hear them sound check because
Oh, cool.
they had a rooftop bar that actually had like a theater screen that I guess if you wanted to go up and have a drink outside, you could still watch the show, whatnot. So that was pretty cool. Then my back started cramping up and I already knew immediately what was happening. I was like, no way, no way, no way, no way. I was having another kidney stone.
Oh, God.
I've had like 5. Yeah.
Kidney stones.
Not the rock I wanted to see. It's 8 o'clock LA time, 10 o'clock Texas.
Yeah.
And I get on the phone and I'm like, Amber,
Somebody save me.
find me a hospital. Dead asleep. Huh? Like, I need a hospital.
Yeah, that's a call
Find
you
me
want
a
to get.
hospital right now.
Your spouse is out of town.
And luckily, there's a hospital 2.5 miles away. I started asking people in line, what's the easiest way to get there? They think I'm on drugs.
Right.
But I mean, if you've ever had one, I mean, the pain starts hitting you and throbbing you. It's like literally going into contractions. I've heard women describe that they'd rather have 3 kids than a kidney stone.
Man.
Pass on both of those.
I go to get my rental car. They all speak Spanish and I don't speak Spanish. And I'm just like, fuck it, just give me the fucking keys. I gotta get out of here. Anyway, trying to make a left turn.
Oh, to get to the hospital.
To get to the hospital. Dude,
Oh
it
my
took
God.
me an hour and a half to go 2.5 miles.
You could have walked.
Not with that kidney stone.
It'd be like Office Space. The old man with the walker is passing you while you're in your car.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
could have just rolled. Like,
Just log roll.
Jeez.
Well, we do have a book to review. I did want to briefly ask, though. Dave went to a con last weekend. Was it Awesome Con? Is that what it was?
yeah, awesome con in DC. And man, there's a storyline of how I got there. On Tuesday, I found out my car needed some repairing. And I just brought my car over for a typical oil change, right? As most of us do.
My wife does not. She just lets it ride.
That sounds like something sexist, I might say.
Hey, I've been very complimentary about her on other episodes. I can say this.
She's great. So I brought my car over for an oil change. And I say, hey, yo, check out the struts in the front because they sound a little wonky, right? I had a 2011 Nissan Altima. I've had it for 12 years, 181,000 miles. Your boy pushes the limits. As Gramps always says, I put the miles in.
Push it to the limit.
I'm working from home that day. It was last Tuesday. My mechanic calls me, and I'm like, all right, cool. And let's find out how much money I'm spending. And he was like, hey. And he started rattling things off. Like,
Oh, Jesus.
you know, like
Full
your oil
auctioneer mode.
When he said your oil pan, I was like, my oil pan? Like, Jesus Christ, I never heard that problem before. And he goes, I could do all the work for you, and you know what? It's going to cost you about like $5,000 to $6,000. And in my mind, I was like, what makes the most sense right here?
Yeah, that's already worth more than my car.
And I was like, you know what? My mechanic's telling me at this point, call it quits.
Yeah.
God forbid a month from now, something else goes wrong.
You're going to jump off a bridge.
Yeah, that's his profession. I should take his advice. He could have milked me for the $5,000 easily.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in Awesome Con Friday morning. I couldn't because I wasn't going to drive my car. Got myself a new Honda CRV hybrid, blah, blah, in the works, and took my
Badass.
car, went home, grabbed Alfred, dropped him off at his mother's.
Co-parenting.
Bless you. Jesus Christ, he's over there sneezing. And I just drove to DC for Awesome Con.
Well, that's rad. So the new car took you on a inaugural trip right there.
Does it have a CD player?
No.
I wouldn't have bought it.
That's legitimately the argument that we had when my wife was buying her new car. It was her first new car ever. I was like, you got to get one with a CD player, though. And she's like, that is the last thing that I'm worried about, right? And we're walking through the lot, and she finds the fucking one. And, oh, my God, this is great. We sit down, and I was like, yes, thank God.
It had a CD player. Yeah.
It did. It did.
I have to find an attachment or something.
All the listeners are like, why do they want CD players?
Because we're old. It sounds better. It's
Sounds
convenient.
better.
You
Fucking
own
looks
something
cool.
physical.
Buy my album.
But yeah, got out of the dealership, and I'm like, I'm driving to DC in my brand new car that only had 4 miles on there.
Nice.
Now, when I got to DC, I had 377. Commitment, guys. So, also, con was great, man. It was a really smaller con. You know, Klaus Johnson was there, Jeff Loeb, David Mack. David Mack actually met the actress who plays Echo for the first time, and I witnessed that. Then you have Rosario Dawson, of course.
Wait,
right?
Echo from Gotham?
No, Echo from the Marvel series was released on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Oh, I never seen that. Okay.
So Dave Mack and I, since TorpedoCon last year, he was there. I always buy these ginger lemon shots or elderberry shots and stuff, or ginger turmeric before shows, because that shows a lot of us get sick after the fact.
Yeah.
I like to take like natural remedies to like help us out. He seems like a fit guy who is just this tight like black shirt, and you know he's like in his fitness pants, and he looks like he works out. So I was like, "Hey man, you want one of these?" And he was like, "Oh my God, thanks!" And he's very humble, very nice about it. And it just became a thing. Every time I saw him at a show, I make sure he gets a few for him and his girlfriend. And at AwesomeCon, he was there. So Saturday, I brought some stuff over for him and his girlfriend. I was standing in line when he was meeting Echo for the first time, and I turned around to everyone in the line and I said, for those of you who don't know what's going on, the creator of Echo is right here meeting her for the first time. They didn't have a chance to meet her at the premiere. And everyone's phone just whipped out. Wow. And I was like, oh, cool.
They're like, oh, thanks, Dave.
Thanks.
We were having this moment.
Then I went over to Dave Mack's table later on, and
he seems like a real cool dude.
He's a really cool dude, man. He's going to get me into reading Daredevil. Gramps, you and I got to talk.
Okay.
And I told him about you. He was like, oh, well, you got to listen to him.
He comments all the time on my Daredevil account, especially when I show his art.
Wait, you have a separate account?
What
the fuck?
We're going to bleep that.
It's a secret?
Back to my story. No,
God damn it.
So Dave Mack, and he was like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. That was amazing. And his girlfriend was very, very nice. And Dave Mack was like, hey, you want anything? And I was like, what do you mean? He was like, get a print or something. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. I got to work and stuff.
That's cool.
Great dude. So Sunday I see him again. I bring him a shot, right? I went to Whole Foods and bought my ginger turmeric lemon shot. And he gives me a book that he's doing with Brian Michael Bendis called Cover.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I want you to read this.
You said, is Batman in it?
No, well, no. I told him, like, I have a hard time jumping into anything else because, like, I don't have time to read things. But if you're going to give me this, I'm going to read it.
He's like, you're at a comic convention. You have to read a comic.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, we had a conversation about what got you into comics. And he's going to be on a podcast eventually. God knows which one. He says, I picked up a Daredevil book when I first got into comics, and it was Klaus and Frank Miller. And I'm like, wow, what a time. What a time to get into comic books. Because, like, that's like their heyday. Like, they brought Daredevil back. They brought Marvel back, in a sense, with that run. Kind of felt like I was podcasting, asking him questions. Like, how does it feel that when you're friends with Klaus now?
Yeah, that's rad.
He's like, dude, I was in New York and I called him and we had dinner together. I still can't believe I have dinner with Klaus.
That's great.
And that was cool. And it was like being part of what we do, right? We build relationship with artists. And I can't believe some of the stuff I do sometimes.
On that note, before we get into the book, I have one last question about the con. You said that Matteo Scalera, when you told him that you were on a Batman podcast, what was his response?
Well, he was like, oh, Bat Fanatic podcast? I was like, how the hell would he know that? There's no way. And I was like, yeah, I'm a host on that podcast. I'm also part of Bat Force. And then he was like, oh. And I was like, wow. The two,
double cred.
He just got,
that's rad.
He's just shooting from the hip.
That's great.
Batting 1,000.
When I went to the Ghost Machine thing the night before MegaCon, and Jeff Johns introduces us to Brad Anderson, me and my wife. He's like, oh, I know you. Like, that's crazy to meet you in person. And he was like tripping out. And so I love when the artists actually recognize, what we do in the fan community, because obviously we're reposting everybody's stuff, giving everybody a signal boost on the stuff that I love. And so for them to recognize that and like, oh yeah, I know who you are, give you that follow back or whatever. And I don't know, that stuff goes a long way with me. And for you to say that about Mateo, like I met him once like 3 years ago. So I doubt if it's from that. I really don't know what he would know us from exactly, but
He knows from something.
I'll take it.
That doesn't just fly out of your mouth randomly.
We reviewed the White Knight Harley book, probably season 2, something like that. But anyway, I thought that was rad. We do have a book to talk about.
Yeah,
so
let's get into
today we are doing Batman 89 2021, which sounds hilarious, but that's when this comic came out. It was written by Batman screenwriter Sam Hamm, pencils and inks by JOE QUINONES, colors by Leonardo Ito, and apparently this is the Clayton Cowles Fanatic podcast because it is yet again lettered by Clayton Cowles. I think we've exclusively done his books so far. It's kind of weird.
Behind the Cowles. We should change the podcast name.
There you go.
Behind the Cowles.
There you go. So this podcast started not only with episode 1 being a review of the Batman 89 film, but episode 0 was a recording of my experience meeting Michael Keaton. I did a bootleg recording of his panel at Alamo City Comic-Con in San Antonio, 2019. And so Keaton and Batman 89 is a big part of this show and the genesis for its existence. You guys weren't on the show when we talked about those films, so I just have to quickly ask, what is your relationship with Keaton's Batman? Are you a fan? What's your backstory on Burton and Keaton and all that?
Okay, so for me, you got to understand that 89 Batman, first off,
came out when you were 35.
I was 35 years old, still living with my parents.
In dog years.
I was obsessed with Batman. I really loved the Alan Grant, Norm Brayfogle run. But I was obsessed with sports, still am. But my bedroom as a 35-year-old man living with my parents at the time was covered wall to wall with pictures that I would cut out of Sports Illustrated magazine. Yes, there used to be paper magazines, and this magazine was called Sports Illustrated.
The good old days.
I only cut out the swimsuit issues. Those are the only ones on my walls.
I would cut out my favorite players and just tack them to my wall. I mean, there was not a square inch that was not covered in photos.
Yeah, I had the same kind of room.
Kind of looks like your room now.
Well, yeah. Now it has frames, but it was floor to ceiling, wall to wall.
There were sections that were themes. This was football. This was basketball. I had Michael Jordan, and I even had like posters, like the 24 by 36 posters.
Did you have that life-size Michael Jordan poster? Like my best friend had this when we were a kid. It was life-size and had a fucking tape measure thing down the side of it so that like as kids are measuring themselves and growing, you could do it against Michael Jordan. It was fucking rad.
And I beat him.
I had several of his iconic posters, including the one where he was with Spike Lee. But I would have them like pinned, 2 at the bottom and then 2 on the ceiling. So it literally looked almost like 3D, like Michael Jordan was jumping out.
Nice.
But when they started doing the promotion for Batman, it was like, I got to take all this down. All Batman.
Yeah.
And also in that room was a bunk bed. My younger brother was on the lower bunk. Of course, I got the top bunk. I had the poster where Batman standing next to the Batmobile kind of posed like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Batman 89, I already had stuff up before I'd even seen the movie.
Yeah.
So I was really super excited once I actually got to see the film. So yeah, it was a big deal. It was such a big deal. You go to McDonald's, you had to get the cups.
Mm-hmm.
Batman was everywhere as a kid.
Yeah. It was a great time. How about you, Dave? What was your exposure to Batman 89? Are you a fan of it?
Yeah.
Or are you fired from the podcast?
Well, it was kind of like,
Speak wisely.
I grew up in 86. So it was like Superman and Batman were going at it already. I watched Batman 89. I think it was probably like, after the movie theaters.
I saw it on VHS myself.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I watched it on VHS, and I was just pumped. I was excited. Superman was dope, but there was something about Batman that was more fitting for me when I watched it live action.
Yeah.
About like a month about that, my dad like brought me to a comic book shop, and like DKR was still out.
You're telling me your first comic was DKR?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got a DKR 1 that I still have from when I was a kid. Got it
Holy
signed by
shit.
Frank Miller, and it came back as 6-0. And everyone was like, oh, you gonna sell that? I was like, no, this is my first comic book I ever got.
Fuck.
Between
That's
that and
rad.
like Sonic and all that nonsense, sequence didn't matter because I was like 6.
Yeah.
So I just read whatever.
Yeah, I'd have random issues of fucking X-Men and Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Didn't,
because
like,
my parents were
connect.
comic book people, so they just bought random books, you know? So,
yeah. It's like, oh, Omega Red's on the cover. Cool.
oh, here's a Batman book. Ooh. And it's like, oh, it was like issue like 77 of something else. But,
I'm like,
you
oh,
know,
I wonder
like-
whatever happened.
yeah. Oh, wait, what happened to the last story? Oh, maybe this is a different universe, right? And then, you just put it in your head. And exactly what it was. But with Batman, I don't know. Like, I just felt like a bigger thing with Batman. Previous podcast, we shared my Superman story, jumping out of the bathroom in my suit. And part of that, I was like 5 or 6. Same time period, Batman's out. Guess what? After that, I'm a Batman fan. So when it came to like Batman 89, it was like, huge for me. And I watched it more than I continued watching any Christopher Reeves movies. And then let's not even go to Batman Returns. It's a poster on my wall. So yeah, that was my introduction when it came to 89.
I think even in the shot I'm in right now, you've got Keaton, DeVito, Pfeiffer, and then on the other side of me, you got Keaton, Burton, and Nicholson. So yeah, I'm pretty well surrounded by it right now.
All I have is like my Batman 89 huge Funko that was $100. There's a smaller one there.
I want to shout out the homage on the cover here, the homage of that famous shot by our friend Carl Newman. Who
Hold on,
played
did we all have the same? Did we all read out of the same version this time?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I got that version. I even like how the inside cover
here
looks
we go.
like.
He's gonna open this.
Oh, yeah,
Mess it up
yeah.
for me. Oh no, I got it. All right, cool.
I got this in my notes, and you're fucking going there. But yes, I love Under the Dust Jacket. The hardcover is a recreation of the VHS and the actual cassette, not the fucking sleeve either. It's so cool.
I'm gonna go over and look at the VHS. I'll be back. Continue your conversation.
But
I also want to add how I'm very thankful for Batman 89 because, as we mentioned on the previous podcast, growing up, my brother's superhero icon was Superman, and
Captain Gravity.
blessed himself with the iconic name of Captain Gravity. See, I watched Batman 89, and I was like, he uses grapnel guns. I don't have to try to fly. I can use a rope.
Yeah.
So whenever I would play superheroes, it'd always be swinging on a rope, not jumping off the house with no trampoline. Yes,
Smart.
It's not just good looks right here.
It's actually pretty legit. Pretty legit. Hold on.
So Dave's got the actual VHS next to, yeah, dude, that's spot on.
Wow, you really do have that.
This ain't a game, man. This is real life. I committed to this.
But yeah, shout out to Carl Newman. The JOE Quinones cover here is a recreation of his first appearance in the film, Batman's first appearance, lowering himself down with the cape extended like that. The story opens on Halloween at a fancy restaurant with Harvey Dent and Barbara Gordon, a character who was not in the original films. Funny enough, Barbara Gordon as Batgirl originated in Batman 66.
So first off, this book, I mean, I know it's titled Batman 89, but for the readers or our listeners here, this is actually...
It's a sequel to Returns.
Right. For Sam Hamm, this would be his third in a trilogy of Batman stories because he wrote the screenplay for 89 and Returns.
Yeah, kind of.
Keaton and Burton didn't do the
Batman
third one.
Continues, I think they were going to call it or something.
Just here on the first page, we've already got some foreshadowing going on. Even in that top panel, you see the statue where it has one broke wing.
Nice.
And then also, I wanted to mention how they're sitting in this restaurant, and if you see in the background, the name of the restaurant is...
Oh, yeah, the two-headed Janus coin. That's great.
So Janus was, I think, like the Roman god of decisions and the Roman god of beginning and ending. So right there, they've put in some really cool clues.
Well, and I'm seeing them do stuff in other Two-Face stories that'll be like, it's the warehouse on Janice Street, like that's one that pops up from time to time.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to Barbara on a date with Harvey. Harvey has aspirations now to become Attorney General, but Barbara is distracted from him by a glimpse of Batman by their 59th floor window. The next page is a TV news segment. Violence is down and Halloween festivities are moving forward as planned. This is kind of like the 200th anniversary celebration will continue, from the movie. This page has a ton of Easter eggs from Burton films like Beetlejuice, Nightmare Before Christmas, even a Jokerized Prince from the Bat Dance video. The Sons of Batman even make an appearance from Dark Knight Returns. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. I love that they threw in all those little references.
Yeah. There's also a lot going on in terms of story because it cuts back and forth quite a bit here. Harvey proposes to Barbara, introducing his two-headed coin, while on the street, the Sons of Batman, as I'm going to call them because it's basically what they look like, pick a fight with some Joker goons, and one of them, almost reminiscent of the Mutant Gang, because he's got that visor on, he gets thrown in front of a car. All the while, a man wearing a clown nose in a suit and a fedora sets off a bomb and causes a literal multi-car pileup of armored cars.
And we've got two goon girls. One that wears a shirt that says, "All this, no brains." Another says, "All this, no brains too."
Yeah.
No, all this and brains, sorry.
And brains too, got it. Nearby, Batman signals to Gordon, verbally I might add, they got a new communication method, that they're armed, and he's figured out their plan. When he swoops here into action, the Joker gang is airlifting an armored car with a helicopter. Batman crashes that copter and gets blasted with gunfire when he lands on the ground. And this is a great homage to the animated series intro, the way it's framed in front of the bank.
Yeah, and we've already got two fatalities by Batman also.
Yep. Keaton was never afraid of that.
In that first panel where we see him, it's kind of an homage to Jim Lee and Hush, too.
Where he's standing by the edge of the building, yes.
Yeah, where he says, "I think I just figured out their plan."
Yeah, there's also DKR with the helicopter in the back. Good combo.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean for the Hush panel. Yeah, it's a very referential book. Reminds me a little bit of White Knight or something in that it's sort of just dripping with fan service,
Yeah, even like smallest things like the purple and the cape.
Well, and right here, we see the origin of the Batcave penny.
Exactly.
As Batman knocked it off the front of the bank, using it as a shield while the Batmobile catches up to him on the autopilot.
I love that part.
And when Batman speeds away, and kind of retreats, actually, Harvey and Barbara get mugged on the way home by a couple of Joker thugs. Harvey, as he removes his watch, slides it over his fist and punches the guy in the face. He then pulls a gun on the second guy and flips the trick coin just to scare him. This is a very Two-Face moment, but also kind of a dirty, hairy, I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? And Barbara seems concerned, but Harvey says, "I can replace the stuff, but I can't replace you." And he laments the existence of these copycat criminals right as the Batmobile drives by. And he includes copycat vigilantes. Seems that since 89, Harvey Dent is no longer on Batman's same side.
No, it doesn't seem like they're working together. I don't even think Harvey Dent's really working with Commissioner Gordon either.
Yeah, we're about to see a bit of a wedge between them. Alfred wakes Bruce in the morning, and Harvey is waiting downstairs. He asks if Bruce will support him against Commissioner Gordon because he wants to take down the Batman. And the TV news reports that Batman stopped this hijacking, and here we get a great play off the Bruce and Selina bit in Batman Returns, where they're walking by the newsstand, Batman blows it, He probably saved millions of dollars in property damage alone. That whole bit. They kind of play that up here. Bruce says that Batman recovered $31 million in cash from the hijackers. And Harvey interjects saying, yeah, but it's offset by $26 million in property damage. The reporter on TV then says that a security guard died in the crash and another was severely injured. Harvey tells Bruce that Batman just drove by last night while he and Barbara were attacked. He then proposes that Batman is actually several people under the direction of Gordon himself.
I like that idea. That's seems really cool.
That's pretty legit.
Yeah, and it's similar to Gotham City Sirens. Ivy was really trying to get into Catwoman's head and find the fucking identity, And what Dini wrote, I thought was clever, was like, oh, it's not just one guy, it's multiple people and whatever. And so even when I think they do suspect that it's Bruce Wayne, it's like, well, yeah, but it's not like a big gotcha because it's a lot of those guys,
Yeah. And I mean, it's not an original idea. There's other stories. I mean, kind of like Batman Imposter, where there's two Batman, even though one's kind of not a good one. But I just like that idea that he has where he thinks, this is a squad. And obviously it's a squad that Gordon set up because, he's got the bat signal and he's using them vigilante law versus his own cops. So
yeah,
it almost made me think that would be an awesome book if there really was actually I guess kind of like Batman Incorporated, but just for Gotham. I don't know. That set my mind, some wheels going on in my mind. That'd be a cool.
Yeah, like out of nowhere, you have like 5 Batmen all dressed the same showing up on the.
Oh, you just slapped your mic and killed it.
Damn.
You're back.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, not just hockey pad Batman, but legit dudes.
5 of them who actually work together, and like the lore of it being one person. It's like, wait a minute, in reality, there's 5 of us. We all come from these rich families. There's some kind of nonsense. There's so many stories you could do that. Like, and there's just like, at that moment, we finally get our Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
Now, I thought that scene was interesting between Bruce and Harvey because Bruce shuts it down. Like, look, I got a long history with Gordon. He was there the night, my parents were killed, blah, blah, blah. And to me, that's cool because this is very referential to the Burton films, of course, and some of the comics. But here we're bringing in a little bit of Nolan lore, because he was the one that wrote that in as Gordon being the one there that day for young Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He turns to Alfred here and says, look, I've always said that I would stop if I believed I was doing more harm than good. And clearly, right now, he's not quite there yet.
And we can also see that Two-Face side of Harvey Dent. It's not just when he's disfigured. He's got a little...
Yeah, there's some hints. There's hints.
Well, yeah. I mean, he just right here kind of showed that, he'll go behind your back and to serve his purpose. He's not afraid to do that.
And we've already set the scene that he has aspirations beyond the DA's office. So it's like, I'm willing to throw my friend under the bus for this idea that, yes, I believe in, but it's also a means to an end.
Not just his friend, and I don't even know if he's his friend, but maybe his possible future father-in-law.
Right, that's true. Yeah, that'd be an awkward fucking Thanksgiving. Harvey calls Barbara at the police station and says that Bruce didn't buy into the new crusade against Gordon. Barbara is looking at Batman's evidence records, and we see the 89 Batarang, the returns targeting fancy Batarang, and the Batmobile fenders left behind, presumably from the car chase in Batman Returns, where it sheds the sides and goes into Bat Missile mode, as the toy was called. And Harvey says, well, he must have a great R&D department. What you were saying, though, as I'm reading this next scene, so Barbara's in on this coup against her father, which seems like they have bad blood too. But still.
What makes it worse is that she's a sergeant in the police force.
Yeah.
So it's like he's her superior.
And you're going against him completely, not just your dad. It's like, whoa.
I mean, she's definitely got some vendetta there.
Yeah.
There's a backstory there we haven't heard.
Yeah. Cut to an auto shop in Burnside. And I think this is the first bit of comic geography in the Burton universe, aside from perhaps Crime Alley, Park Row. I think that's about it. They've kind of built their own world with Anton First, you know. This Burnside feels a bit more to me like Backport, because Burnside, at least like in the Batgirl stuff that we're about to read on the show, I got more of a like Portland, and that's why it's called Burnside. That's like a main hub is the street Burnside in Portland, Oregon. And so I thought that was kind of based on that. But this one seems a little more like Backport. You know, it's a little grimier, a little more crime ridden. It's more impoverished, you know.
Right. It's almost like they haven't invested much into the people. They haven't invested much into the locations and the businesses. As we'll see later on, there's a reason why it's called Burnside.
Yeah.
It gets its name. It earns its name.
Right. And this is where Harvey visits his old friend, Jerome Otis. Harvey talks to the kids outside, saying that it's important to see a successful black man who isn't an athlete or a drug dealer. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Jerome replies that if he doesn't come around, they won't see you at all. You know, it's like, okay, that's a nice thought, but
Show up, homie.
yeah.
Yeah, he's like basically saying you only come around when it's convenient.
When you
for
need
Need
you.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of remembering where you came from. It'd be nice if you could come around here a little bit more often.
Now we get a quick flashback to Jerome giving the trick coin to a young Harvey. Jerome says that he never questioned his luck or asked to see the coin back then. And Harvey replies, because I trusted you. Still do. And that night, Harvey holds a press conference there asking for a vote of no confidence, removing Gordon as police commissioner. Just after the broadcast, Harvey shines the bat signal with Harvey Bullock, his first appearance in the Burton universe. We know that Batman has a direct line of communication now with Gordon, so the bat signal is kind of obsolete. So he watches from a safe distance and reports back to Gordon that it looks like Bullock brought snipers. Gordon laments that his daughter is engaged to Harvey Dent, and the whole department seemed to know about this big plan except for him. He also warns Batman that the National Guard has orders to bring in Batman dead or alive and recommends that they cease contact. He even smashes his earpiece with the back of his gun.
Playing it safe.
In the last scene, Gotham is under martial law. The National Guard issues a citywide curfew, and then gunshots ring out in the distance. The shooter is a shop owner who claims he was fending off an armed robbery. Batman watches from a distance and follows the thief to his apartment. There was no robbery. He was just stealing diapers for a baby. Batman seems uncharacteristically empathetic for Michael Keaton's version, asking, how old are you? Where's the baby's mother? All this kind of shit. When a voice calls for help just outside the window. The voice says, I'm afraid of heights. When Batman leans out the window, he gets kicked in the head and knocked off the fire escape. It's a masked vigilante who says, next time, knock, and takes $8 from the diaper thief inside the apartment after everything's done. And we see Batman.
No, he gives him $8.
No, he gives him
He gives it to him?
Yeah, he gives it to
Yeah.
him.
He gives it to him. He
Okay.
says, here, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
all I
I
got.
took it the other way around of like, are you charging a protection racket? What the fuck is this?
Yeah, no,
No.
that's not a bad idea, right? But yeah, he
That's
gave
funny.
it to him.
Okay.
We'll find out
Thank
later
you.
on where the $8
I'm a
came
dumbass.
from.
I remember that now because I was like, well, why did they say that? Yeah, okay, I got that backwards. So I'm a dumbass. But when Batman swings to safety, he is spotted by the National Guard. Soldiers, guns drawn, end of book 1. Off to a pretty good start. Had you guys read this comic before, or is this the first time?
I read it a couple months ago, and I liked it, so I'm glad that we're doing it now. And I, read it again for the show.
First time, I just waited. I have a couple of the covers because the covers you can't shy away from when they're so good.
Yeah.
But I haven't read it yet, so this was actually a great time to read it.
What's really cool about this bat suit, It's got elements of the Michael Keaton 89. It also has a lot of reference to the animated series.
Yeah.
And when I first read this, I was really surprised to see the white eyes because that wasn't in the Keaton cowl.
Yeah. That's still
But it
animated
was
series.
it was from the animated series. And we'll see later on. I mean, I like it whenever they explain or show how those are actually lenses. And even the way they color it kind of gives it that glow against the cowl.
Well, and
really cool.
I would say in general, this whole thing, and I don't know if it's likeness rights or what, but it makes sort of a blend of actors' likenesses and their comic book counterparts. Like if you look at Gordon, he looks a bit like Pat Hingle, but a bit like your classic comic Gordon. You know, he's a little slimmer in the face and his mustache and hair is a slightly different color. And so they take liberties with some of these characters and making sort of a unique hybrid that's like meant for comics, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you do a bad likeness of somebody, that's obvious. So I feel like there was some decision of like, well, let's just do something inspired by these actors that's not directly copying them.
I mean, I've seen Quinones art in Marvel books, and I was really surprised when I, saw that he was the artist because he is an amazing artist. But I like the adaptability in this book, and a lot of that also is by the colorist. Who's the colorist?
Leonardo Ito.
Yeah, because they give it an animated vibe.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a Batman 89 animated show. Even in the back part of the book where it has like some of the extras, I like seeing the design.
The character designs and stuff.
And it even shows, the bat suit, and it says Batman 89, Bruce Wayne, Costume Blends 89 returns, and BTAS for animated series.
Nice.
So there you go.
So book 2, Batman tells the soldiers don't shoot and that he'll lower himself to the ground. But when he reaches for that grapnel on his belt, he grabs a flashbang instead. He tosses it at the soldiers, and they just act like cops. They start firing indiscriminately right away. And the young thief, watching from the fire escape, the diaper thief, is shot in the head and falls to his death. And this is such a powerful opening scene. Batman is horrified. In the following scene, he blames himself. He's talking to Alfred in the cave. On the news, we learn that 5 different bystanders were shot in their apartments. Like, cops just fucking going ape shit. I like that it has a bit of commentary. It has a little bit of a year one vibe too, of like, I'm trying to do this and I fail.
There's a lot of failure on his part, and there's a lot of mortality as well.
Yeah, that kind of shocked
me. Which
I
was surprised at whenever I started reading this book. They don't hold back when it comes to like, there are consequences to being Batman, and if he makes a poor decision, this is what happens.
Yeah, someone's
they play
life
on
or
that
his.
throughout the book. Yeah.
He's definitely a little more in control in the films. He's got that bulletproof fucking confidence, and this one is not going great.
Yeah, a little more behind the scenes when you're reading this book of what he's actually going through.
Yeah. Barbara takes that electronic batarang to the park for a demo with Harvey. That's a little odd, but they suspect that this technology must be worth millions and that, oddly enough, it was never patented. Whoever Batman is, he's well-funded or wealthy himself. Back at the auto shop, we see protests outside over the excessive force that we just talked about. And inside, Jerome talks to a young employee named Drake, which I believe is an obvious nod to Tim Drake. And Drake tells Jerome he's figured out how to order parts by mail and has an idea to network their computers together. And I think it's great because they're showing these old-ass CRT monitors, primitive-ass computers.
Right.
They're basically just showing the kid's very smart. He's ahead of his time. He's very capable.
He's inventing the internet right here.
Yeah.
He was also ready to start his own eBay.
yeah, exactly. Harvey walks in and asks if Drake can look into some rare parts, which we can assume are the ones from the Batmobile that were in evidence. But Drake turns him down flat, saying, I don't talk to cops. You might be a nice cop. You're still a cop. Just then, several more people show up who Jerome introduces as the council. They talk about de-escalating the violence, and when Harvey suggests it could be advantageous to let it slide, the council corrects him. It will be the neighborhood that suffers, not your rich donors like the Waynes and the Shreks.
Yeah, they quickly put him in place, and they even call him out and says, you and your rich white donors.
Yeah.
You know, these people are obviously influential figures in this neighborhood. You know, I think one's a pastor. One of them looks like a jock athlete. One of them's kind of a grandmotherly looking figure. Obviously, they've lived in Burnside all their life and well respected, and they pretty much shut him down.
Yeah.
Said, you know what? You've picked who you want to associate with. Don't come into our neighborhood and tell us how to run things here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that observation that you made about, like, these are people who have lived here forever, and the way that they're coming at Harvey, it reminds me a little bit of there's an Ice Cube song on his second record called True to the Game, where he talks about, like, okay, you get some success and then you move out of the neighborhood. You don't give back to the community. You don't share that with anybody you came up with. You just plant your flag and take more for yourself, you know?
And Harvey, I think, really takes that into consideration because he says, I want to help however I can. He understood where they're coming from. And we're going to see that later on, but I really think that their message hit home with him.
So that night, Harvey gives a speech and Drake blows it off. He passes the sons of Batman idiots and tells them not to make any trouble. As soon as he leaves, one of them comes up with the idea to burglarize a store and blame it on looters. Now, I'm not exactly sure how he would get to keep the PlayStation if they supposedly stopped the crime. Because he's talking about, oh, look, they got a fucking console. You know, let's break in and blame it on looters, right? But, like, their whole story is that they caught the loot. Anyway, if there's no criminal, but you stop them, yeah, I don't think that's going to fly.
You don't have to be the smartest person to be a Batman here.
Well, yeah, these followers are dumbasses.
Yeah. Most followers are.
This is true. Just then, the masked man from the first issue appears and kicks their asses. They cry out to bystanders, he was robbing the store. And it's cut up like the Batman Joker fight in Hush, where he keeps punching him and he's like, stop me if you've heard this before. And I like that because Robin is said a bunch of times. One of the kids who's like on the corner hears the shit.
Who was that?
I think he said the guy's name is Robin.
Yeah, that was funny.
He's like, that's not what he said, you dumb, you know. And it doesn't take much imagination to assume that this is Drake's alter ego.
Yeah, I like his outfit too. Pretty badass.
I'm kind of indifferent on it. It's fine, but it doesn't really of all the costume designs in this, it's maybe not one of the most exciting ones to me. I don't know.
This is his first attempt.
Yeah, this is year one as long as we know.
For sure. Yeah. I'm a Robin fan. I enjoy him, but I am partial to like the Tim Drake design. And
That's more like after he met Batman, so we'll see.
Yeah.
If there's another one after this.
Well, this Robin, I mean, it needs to be said that, you know, obviously with this movie adaptation, everything about this book is going to be totally different than the comics.
Right.
Yes, it's influenced by the comics, but it is totally different. It's kind of a newer take.
On a continuation.
So,
yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, and I correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't
You're wrong.
one of the Wayans brothers supposed to be Robin?
Yeah, so Marlon Wayans was actually cast to be Robin in the third film, and then they passed on him and went with Chris O'Donnell. If I remember the story correctly, I think he still got paid for it. It was that far along when they replaced him. But so there was supposed to be a Black Robin way before fucking Sean Murphy did it in the last 4 years or something. It was supposed to happen in like 1995.
Okay. Yeah. So as I'm reading this, a part of me thinks, okay, obviously this is Sam Hamm's third Burtonverse story.
Yes.
This is the story that he probably wanted before they went, the Schumacher route.
Also with like a little modern day flair.
It feels both within universe, but it also feels relevant now, for sure.
They can still do it. Anything's possible.
And this look that he has is kind of an adaptation of Damien.
Yeah, I could see that.
And his attitude.
Yeah.
He's a very angry young man.
Rightfully so, from the sounds of it. Yeah.
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 And highly intelligent, which fits very fitting with Drake.
That's true. Yeah. Because Tim's a smart dude.
He's like statistically the best Robin.
Well, he was a computer genius, and this kid's already creating the internet.
Yeah.
And
pioneering e-commerce while everyone else is playing Oregon Trail.
Yeah.
He's really kind of like Tim Drake.
Yeah.
Damien. And then
Marlon.
Yeah. All rolled into one.
So back at Wayne Manor, Alfred gets a freight delivery, and it's the giant penny. Down in the cave, Dr. Q, an obvious Harley homage, is on TV discussing the psychological motivation for wearing a mask. And this reminds me of Dr. Bartholomew Walper from Dark Knight Returns.
Right.
When Alfred suggests that perhaps the original Monets upstairs would be more suitable decor than the giant penny, Bruce kind of snaps at him and says, no, the penny saved my life. It stays. He's kind of wallowing in the aftermath of the Robin ambush, after that kid got killed. And he says, it was like being attacked by me. And Alfred suggests that maybe if vigilantism has failed, he can always revert back to philanthropy.
I always wondered, how did Alfred roll that thing down the stairs?
Yeah, they must have had some kind of crane. I don't know.
That would be a cool black and white story where
the origin of the Bat Cave.
It's just a day in the life of Alfred. And
like everything he brings in.
Shit.
Like all this shit he has to do. Like you can have seasons of that.
They should have done that when they killed off Alfred. Like, okay, if you're going to do this, at least give him his own issue after that,
Oh, he had that. There was an annual.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, but it'd be funny as hell. Oh man, kind of like a How I Met Your Mother of like Alfred stories.
Oh, right. Okay. Like an Almost Got Him.
But more like my life is Alfred Pennyworth. And it was like one time I was dealing with Master Bruce and then it's like an episode of a story he's telling. And it's like, that'd be so funny. It could be campy too.
I feel like we got a little bit of that stuff in Earth 1 and it was great.
Yeah. Like it was so natural.
Dude, speaking of Earth 1, let me tell you this. So we used to mention this book all the time because it was one of the first books that we read and then like nothing after it kind of lived up to it, So we were like, oh man, but when they did it in Earth 1, it was so much better, So at the MegaCon thing, they were bringing all the Ghost Machine guys and Gary Frank was at it. I'm like, oh my God. And then he canceled like very quickly. I'm like, God damn it. Dude, so I've had eBay notifications set to Gary Frank's sketch for fucking ages, like forever. And last night I see one popped up, and it's not just like a sketch variant of some bullshit, which it always is. It's always something bullshit, right?
Yeah,
mass produced. Never a real sketch. Found a fucking Earth 1 Batman Gary Frank sketch for $100. I was like, oh my God. I DM'd the guy really quick. I'm like, where did this come from? And he's like, I used to work for DC Comics. He just did it for me. I was like, fucking wow. And so I bought it on the spot. I'm fucking so excited.
That's awesome.
Really stoked. Really good deal. It had this dude's name on it. And so I want to send that to Brad and be like, yo, just color right over the name dedication, and then it'll be perfect. But yeah, fucking hell of a deal.
Just for the record, don't ever show me how to set those alerts on eBay.
I have like 15 of them set at all times.
I was just like, wait, you could do that? Oh, no.
Dude.
One thing no, I don't want to learn.
Okay, I won't tell you.
No.
Moving on.
I like my bank account.
Elsewhere, Barbara praises Harvey for his speech being such a big hit with the viewers, and a reporter catches up to them asking if he's running for governor. Then Harvey Bullock interrupts, calling him a two-faced son of a bitch. He claimed that Harvey's Burnside speech was anti-police dog whistling and vows to make him pay for this betrayal.
What's even worse is that Barbara was not there at the speech, and he says, it's just about the optics. Here you are, you're the top cop's daughter. I can't have you there while he's basically calling out the police.
Right. Yeah.
So,
it's like,
again, we see that he's a real two-face.
I like that. Yeah. I didn't even really think about the hypocrisy of that. I just kind of thought it was like a cowardly move a little bit of like, no, I'm going to hide you because I need to keep up appearances. But
yeah,
right.
I mean, it just kind of, when I read that, I was like, if I were her, I was like, that would really plant a seed of doubt. I was like, why is he with me? Is this, if it is love, does he trust me?
Right.
Because I don't know. That was a pretty important scene.
Yeah, that's a good point. At his office, Harvey finds Bruce waiting inside, dressed exactly like Kevin Conroy's Bruce Wayne. I love this. He's got the brown jacket, the yellow shirt underneath. Love it so much. He compliments him on making such a bold speech and says, I've got a crazy idea of my own. In a brief cutaway, the sons of Batman are mad that one of their members didn't show up to back them up. The guy says, I did show up, but I was late. And I saw who we're going to call Robin, but he's like, I saw Robin and I followed him. So this guy knows where to find so they can get their revenge. Bruce meets with Harvey and the council, offering to pay out of pocket for every child in Burnside to have free college. And they said, for how long? He said, till I run out of money. Skeptical, they ask why the sudden interest in Burnside. Bruce tells them he was moved by Harvey's speech and there being two different Gothams, talked about the haves and the have-nots. He says, and the baby girl Naisha, who was recently orphaned. It struck a chord because of his family history with gun violence. And the council doesn't trust Bruce, but to me, that's about as good a deal as I've ever heard somebody offer. Like, I'm going to pay for all of your kids and their kids to get free schooling. It reminds me a bit of what the renewal fund was going to be.
I was about to say, yes.
Yeah.
This is exactly like that. And rightfully so, they're like, here's this guy that all of a sudden he's suddenly interested in our community. He's never once showed his face here before.
Yeah.
He's the exact type of guy that has turned their backs on us before. And now he's making this outlandish promise. Why should they trust him? Yeah.
We learn a little bit later there's a direct correlation, too, that like why they wouldn't trust his family name.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I like this. And I think that philanthropy, thanks to Alfred for the idea in this situation, but I think that philanthropy should always be a part of Batman stories because I like when Batman is fighting on both fronts, I just saw a meme the other day of like, hey, you want to get tough on crime? Like, how about fucking healthcare and housing and like all these basic needs being met so that people aren't killing each other for survival,
Yeah, I mean, crime is essentially caused because people aren't having their basic needs met. And who better than Bruce Wayne to come out here and help people meet their basic needs? That would help Batman's cause 20-fold versus him just going out and beating up thugs.
Yeah, he gets it from both sides. And and then
don't tell anyone what I was just doing.
And then I'm gonna show the other guys, hey, if you don't take this help, you're gonna get the fucking hands, homie.
Yeah. That was one of the things I loved about Paul Dini and Alex Ross' War on Crime. We reviewed that as one of our season finales, I think season 2. It's kind of a short story, but there's an element of him in the suit feeling empathetic with the criminals, like he understands their situation. He's trying to steer them onto a better path, not just breaking their limbs, And then on the other side of it, Bruce Wayne is actively confronting these other guys who are just trying to gentrify the neighborhoods. They're trying to let these places break down and get so starved that the people sell for pennies on the dollar and that they can flip it, turn it into all this fucking commerce and real estate and all this shit. And so I like when the writers can incorporate having a multifaceted approach to this crusade.
Agreed.
100%.
On his way to the car, Bruce hears a commotion in the alley and puts on a ski mask. Now, he was just seen in this neighborhood by a lot of people, so this seems very careless, but he runs right around the corner and finds Catwoman standing above some badly beaten Sons of Batman goons. And her suit here is a cross between Pfeiffer and Jim Ballant, which I kind of love. It's got the purple in the thigh area as like an undersuit beneath the boots. I think that's a really cool look, but most of it is still the black vinyl with the white stitching. Catwoman said that she's been following him and that she must be getting pretty good if he hasn't noticed. When Harvey gets in the car, he asks Barbara when they released the name of the baby, because Bruce Wayne had said Naisha. And turns out they hadn't released that name. And just as Harvey asks, how could Bruce have known there's an explosion at the auto shop where they just were, Jerome's shop? Everyone outside is safe, but Drake was still inside. Harvey runs in heroically and gets trapped in the fire. That's the end of book 2.
Yeah, Drake lives at the top of the building. He also has pet birds.
Yeah.
His little robins.
Pretty strong 2 issues so far.
Yeah.
I'm bought in. The cover of book 3 is one of my very favorites. We have Barbara in the evidence room holding the chest emblem from the 89 Batsuit. I really like this. You got the cowl behind her with the tag on the ear and all this stuff.
I really like also on the bulletin board behind him. Could be wrong, but they remind me of David Mazzucchelli's images from year 1.
Oh, yeah. These crude drawings of Batman.
Yeah, he looks like a demon, and then he looks like a vampire.
Does A have any resemblance to that quote-unquote Bob Kane drawing from Batman 89? Because I think it kind of does. Knox is like, needs a little more gore under the fangs, you know.
Right. Yeah, it could.
Constant references in this book.
Yeah, it's ongoing.
The issue opens with a lot of good news for Harvey Dent. First of all, he rescues Drake from the fire. I love that I mentioned Drake's Robin costume. Not my favorite, but I love that his Burnside Letterman jacket is red, yellow, and green, like the Robin suit.
So fitting.
Yes. The rescue lands him on the front page of the paper, and then a parade is thrown in his honor, which I was like, oh, wow. Gordon resigns after the no confidence vote is passed. And when the disgraced governor announces he will not seek re-election, Harvey is the obvious frontrunner. And all of that happens in 2 pages. So holy shit.
Yeah, I read that. I was like, Jesus.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Well, how do I get that lucky? And
I know.
then you turn the page.
Well, yeah, we turn the page, and 1 year later, Governor Dent welcomes Commissioner Gordon into his office. And it's not Jim, it's Barbara. She said that Bruce Wayne finally confessed to funding the Batman conspiracy and that Harvey was right all along. But somehow, Barbara disappears, and now Jerome is there, and Harvey's young again, and they're at the auto shop, and then everything goes black. Drake and Bruce are dragging Harvey out of the fire just before another explosion goes off. Harvey's face is burning and is said to have inhaled sulfuric acid. You know, my dad's a mechanic. I should ask him, why would a mechanic need sulfuric acid in the shop? But when he stands up, we see our first ever Billy D. Williams Two-Face, and it is glorious. This is maybe my favorite shot of him in the whole run. Bruce whispers that Harvey will be lucky to make it to the hospital at all, and the EMTs are almost equally hopeless about it.
That's an awesome page right there. It really shows you the gore. And it almost reminds me of Dark Knight, where his whole eyeball cavity is eaten away. His eyelids are eaten away. And
I felt like that was a little bit of a Bruce Timm homage as well, because it just strikes such a perfect balance, you know.
It's a little bit of all the Two-Face we've seen, and like
it is.
in one photo. It's like it's a good montage of like legit every Two-Face that we know of.
Also, the origin of his injury, one, it's very different than the comic.
Well, it almost mirrors Aaron Eckhart.
That's what I was getting to. Thanks.
Yeah.
You read my mind. You're a genius.
My bad.
I'll
cut you off.
You know what? Like, not to like mess up this whole situation. Like, they drag him off, and like his face is just dragging the entire way.
Face is like
And I
sliding.
was, you know what, guys, just fucking let me die though. Like, really, you're gonna scrape my whole face while you're dragging me out to my safety,
Dude,
He might not have become Two-Face if they weren't dragging him out by his ankle.
Like, there's two of us. One of you could pick my face from the fucking ground, man.
I mean, there are moments in this book that are just brutal. I mean,
I'm looking at this one clip. It's like there's smoke coming out of his face. I mean, what if you guys would have picked me up? That's why I'm after you.
I guess one, they didn't want to get close to the fire, but I mean, you got Bruce Wayne, who's Batman.
You could have picked him up from his shirt. You didn't have to just drag his ankles,
from his
man.
shoulder.
Grab his belt, grab his collar,
like,
something.
man, help the guy. Come on. You're really going to help him. Help him.
So here, Bullock shows up to question Drake and Bruce. Apparently, Drake was on the roof and saw the whole thing go down. The sons of Batman set the fire and ran off. We remember earlier they had followed him. They know where he lives. Bullock said that several of them were found in a dumpster around the corner, which we know is courtesy of Catwoman. And Drake gives Bruce a knowing look, but doesn't say anything about seeing him in disguise. On the way home, Wayne Manor is swarmed with news vans, and he has to drive his civilian car into the Batcave entrance, which I think is hilarious.
Well, I'm just surprised that he's even driving. Why is Alfred not driving?
Yeah, that's true. Well, maybe because he wanted to go down there and make a personal gesture, like he felt maybe he needed to tone down the rich guy act if he was going to pitch this grant or whatever you want to call it.
Listen, Wayne Manor is huge. Alfred has work to do at home. And the story.
There's so much dusting.
He's got a penny to roll down, apparently.
Yeah, Alfred's been busy this whole freaking book. And we're only issue 3.
I seriously wish they had put a panel in showing Alfred struggling to get that penny down those stairs. And
it's got to be a freight elevator or something.
Got to be a freight elevator, but Alfred has just got to be, even as an older gentleman, he's just got to be jacked.
Oh, yeah.
I wish that they showed him in like a tank top just jacked.
Yo, that'd be dope to watch like a jacked ass Alfred, because like there's so many storylines where he trained Bruce, helped Bruce out. He also has to do with a stupid fucking penny.
That was one of the things I loved about Gotham, is that Alfred could fight.
Yeah.
He's training Bruce to fight.
Did you ever watch Pennyworth?
No, I didn't.
It's pretty good.
HBO Max, man, it's pretty solid.
He gets down.
We'll review that eventually.
There are some things that you hear about it and you either get excited or you don't. And that one, I was just like, I don't want to commit to this.
I was backflips. I was like, Alfred Pennyworth series? I'm in.
Now that I'm not opposed to, but just like, tonally and whatever, I was just like, I don't know. But I have in the past done poster giveaways on the show, and one of the posters that I've acquired is for that show. Oh, nice. So at some point when we do another round of those giveaways, but cool. Have a whole stack of those to go through. Anyway, Drake is now living out of the Royal Auto Body van because the building was blown up, and the Royal logo is a circular R, like the Robin suit, which I love. And Jerome brings him some donated clothes from the church, but Drake doesn't want any credit for this rescue and confesses that the arsonists were merely targeting him. Cut to Catwoman licking Bruce's face, just like in Batman Returns, only he wakes up from a dream, and it was her cat. Alfred says that Harvey survived the first night in the hospital, and Barbara sent flowers. When he picks up the paper, the headline is Bruce Wayne, Superhero, with a photo resembling the cover of Bruce Wayne, Murderer. The press is still camped outside, and there's 63 missed calls. Mind you, this is pre-cell phone, so Alfred had to answer them all. Bruce said that Drake thinks he was the one who beat up the arsonists, and that he never saw Catwoman. Alfred said if Selina's return indicates that she'll be picking up the cat, that would be fantastic. And I love this panel because the cat, much like my cat, Master Bruce, climbed his back and perched on his shoulder. My cat loves to do this
Nice.
to me, and it drives me insane because if I'm just wearing a t-shirt, it's like claws, claws, claws. Oh, fuck, fuck, fuck.
What's your cat's name?
Master Bruce.
Master Bruce.
Yes. Technically, his name is Bruce Wayne, but I call him Master Bruce. Downtown, the arsonists are released on bail and filing a lawsuit against the city because they got their asses kicked twice in 1 week. Now, they're both from vigilantes and not the cops, so this seems stupid to me. Commissioner Gordon tries to squash it, and people in the streets seem just as tense about everything that's been going on. At the hospital, Bruce asks when Harvey will be healthy enough to fly abroad, because he has a team of plastic surgeons in Switzerland that could help with these burns. Barbara overhears and tells him they can't afford all that, but of course Bruce offers to cover the expense.
He keeps bringing up Switzerland several times in this book. It's like he just wants to go sing The Sound of Music or something.
Well, no, he keeps saying, like, I've got the doctors. They're over there. Just fucking go, you know.
That's also where his money's at, probably.
Yeah, his
Right?
bank account.
Yeah, it makes sense.
True.
And Bruce Wayne's always one to be distracted by the pretty ladies. So, you know, that could be it too. I don't know.
Or he just likes hot cocoa.
Yes, he's flying abroad for Swiss Miss. Cut to Harvey's subconscious. He's talking to the alternate version of himself that saved Drake and became governor. This multiverse Harvey speaks of every event having two different outcomes, creating a split in reality. They revisit several crucial moments in his life before arriving at the auto shop fire. This multiverse Harvey got all the good outcomes, and the real Harvey got all the bad ones. Barbara wakes him and says that Bruce is here to help. Harvey dismissively calls Bruce a white knight and scratches one side of his lucky coin, saying that life always has two possible outcomes. Barbara seems worried, but when he flips, she loves me not, he seems content with the answer.
Do you think that was a direct Sean Murphy reference?
I feel like it has to be, given all the other references.
Yeah.
Bruce finds a note on his windshield, and later Batman meets Catwoman at midnight on the rooftop where she stabbed him and he burned her arm. It's quite a stick figure drawing to have come to that conclusion, but
Pretty solid.
They quickly start kissing right away, before then arguing about who's the real criminals, who she says are his rich business associates. Seeing how Bruce handled Shrek, though, in Batman Returns, I don't know why he would disagree with her on this at all. Like, I think about that meeting they had in the beginning. He's like, well, I'm going to fight you on this. This is a bunch of fucking bullshit with your power plant, you know? It seems like he was already kind of an outsider in that world anyway. I don't know why he's kind of pushing back. The rich assholes haven't done the city harm. But the fight then turns to Selina's therapist when he finds out it's Dr. Q from TV. They're interrupted now as fires start to pop up all around. Catwoman just says the fires are romantic, but all he sees is the rioting. Harvey watches the news from his hospital bed, and they wish him a speedy recovery, saying that he was fighting for the soul of Gotham. Harvey flips the coin, though, and it lands on the scarred side. He says, to hell with it. End of book 3. Not bad.
Yeah. It was one of those issues where it was like, it's going to tie everything into the next big event.
I find this more enjoyable to read now. This is probably the, I don't know, maybe 4th time I've read this, because as it's coming out, you know, reading it monthly, an issue like this is like, because it's a lot of just connective tissue. I'm like, oh man, those first 2 were so exciting. I don't know, you know, then you got to wait a month. But when you sit down and just read it all at once.
Someone's better.
Yeah.
100%.
Book 4 has that fantastic Catwoman cover, which is probably my favorite of the whole run. And inside, demonstrators march to City Hall in the name of Harvey Dent. Bullock ignores Gordon's orders to provide safe passage for them and instructs his men in full riot gear to keep them out and to meet any resistance with full force. Drake parks his van nearby and unloads some gigantic bags from the back. We don't really see what this is. But from the rooftops, Robin drops bags of paint on the police blockade. I love this.
that.
And then throws a bag of spray cans to the protesters. I love this too because at first anyway, this is a brilliant like non-violent tactic of their spray painting the cops' shields and helmets. So they're virtually blind now, and then they're taking their weapons away from them. So now the gas grenades are being thrown around, used against the cops, and then someone throws an explosive here. Gordon shows up, and a paint-soaked, embarrassed Harvey Bullock gets his ass chewed for fucking up the whole thing. This is a good year one sort of moment where Gordon gives specific orders to do something that will diffuse a situation from getting worse. In that case, it was Brandon, but in this case, it's Bullock.
That Bullock
like,
got it, man.
Fuck that, you know? I just love how it beautifully backfired.
Two things on this page where Bullock's standing there with all the paint on him and Gordon's chewing him out. That panel below, Dunk, does that look like the Flatiron building? That triangle building there?
It does.
When I saw this panel, I guess it just triggered my PTSD back when I visited New York and had the pipe bomb episode close to the Flatiron building. So all this smoke and all this stuff, I'm just like, yeah, that's just bringing back some good memories.
Wow.
And then we get to see that picture of Drake there, very much standing like Batman at the very beginning in that Jim Lee pose.
Jim Lee pose, yep.
It's a quick scene, but I like the little rooftop stuff, you know.
And he's definitely upgraded his suit now, which I like. Looks kind of like a bird ninja now.
Bird ninja with that Bruce Wayne fun.
Yeah, he's gone to Academy Sports and got some lacrosse shin pads.
And he put Alfred to work.
So Bruce is in the Batcave now in the Kenner quick change figure outfit. I love this. Feeding the cat bacon in front of his new giant penny. I kind of just love everything about this. Alfred tells him what happened to the cops, to which Bruce says, it wasn't me, and then offers a microfilm of an old local newspaper from Burnside. Harvey is restless at the hospital. He's frantically trying to find a mirror when Barbara reminds him that the Swiss surgeons need to act now if they're going to help. He refuses to decide without his coin, yelling that he died in the fire and the universe kept him alive for some reason. He has to know why. He violently grabs her arm and flips the coin. In the hall, she calls Bruce to vent about Harvey's state of mind. And that night, after lights out, Harvey knocks out the night nurse and removes his bandages in the mirror. This is the first time he sees himself as Two-Face.
Yeah, and I love that panel right there when he says, "What are you gawking at, pretty boy?"
Yeah.
We already know his mind split, and this is now when that evil side sees itself for the first time. He's full on Two-Face at this point.
Yeah. Drake gets picked up from Alfred in a town car, and there's a nauseatingly on-the-nose bit about one of his birds being a robin. Thank you, Dark Knight Rises. And at the same time, we see Bruce reading headlines about Winston Automotive. This is from the old film strip that Alfred gave him. And Winston Automotive, presumably Drake Winston's grandfather or so, was bought out by Wayne Motors. And when they arrive at the manor, Drake points to all the family portraits on the wall. He asks about Preston Wayne, who was in the automotive business. He then confronts Bruce about beating up the arsonist Sons of Batman guys, which he denies, because, of course, we know it was Catwoman. But Drake laughs at the idea of that being Catwoman because she's not even real. And he thought that Bruce was the only plausible suspect because he was the only one that he saw there. Drake calls his bluff and pulls out a vial of the same acid, he says, that disfigured Harvey Dent. Bruce shoves him across the room, and they completely destroy the furniture in a fight sequence that ends with the vial splashed across Bruce's face. And Drake says, "It was just water, Batman."
Yeah, that whole scene kind of seems a little...
Schumacher?
Yeah, just out of character and just really shoehorned in there.
Yeah, definitely got just thrown into the mix because it's like, whoa, where the hell did that come from?
It's a little silly.
I think Bruce would have handled that situation a lot different.
And it's also, again, like I mentioned, Dark Knight Rises with the whole Robin thing. But I feel like that's what they're drawing from because John Blake also had a sit down with Bruce at the manor.
Kind of follows that trope whenever you have two big characters. They meet up, they beat up, and then they team up, right?
Right.
And Bruce, he's on his home turf. He would have played mind games and spun this kid around, twisted him all up, and given him every lie imaginable that would have actually convinced him, no, I'm not actually who you're looking for, and I'm actually not Batman. But,
Yeah.
Now the cat's out of the bag, pun intended.
Well, in this universe, multiple people have learned his identity, so this is just the next in a series, I guess. But Alfred rushes into his defense, to which Bruce says, Alfred, we don't tase our guests, and asks him to prepare another plate because Mr. Winston is staying for dinner. Barbara has a computer virus and hires Selena Kyle to fix it. She mentions that some hackers can record your keystrokes, and we can intuit that she likely intends on doing that herself. Barbara is interrupted by the news that Harvey's disappeared from the hospital with, quote, a year's supply of painkillers. She denies making any contact with him, but they search her apartment after a suspicious man was seen outside. Harvey is there reading an email that reads, who robbed Lincoln Savings and Loan? The answer, Lincoln Savings and Loan. Just then, the cops bust in, and the "you've got mail" gives him away. Harvey knocks out one of the cops and then runs to the subway, his coin making every decision along the way. Now we see that he is truly Two-Face, talking to himself aloud, as you mentioned, as two separate identities.
Right. It's almost like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And
Yeah.
clearly, at that point, the bad side is in full control because Harvey is just being dragged along by Two-Face.
Yeah.
It's kind of those fight or flight situations, and obviously Two-Face has control to flight.
I was watching Godzilla King of Monsters the other day, and I was thinking about that with Ghidorah. You got three heads. Each one is like a sentient being, but the main one is the master or whatever. But I was like, man, how does that work? Because like he bites off one of the heads, and then it grows back another head. And I'm like reading, and they're like, yeah, supposedly the one that grows back, still has the same personality as it was before or whatever. I'm like, but its brain is gone. How does that how does that work? Like I get that they have three separate things that anyway, multiple personalities. Two-Face finds his perfect lair, an unfinished subway junction that's somewhat reminiscent of Secret of the Ooze, Ninja Turtles 2, complete with one pristine tunnel and one dilapidated tunnel on the other side. Great for his new obsession with duality. At dinner, Drake says that Bruce's tell was the way he cocks his head when he's nervous, and that he knew Naisha's name. Harvey knew that, but how does Drake know that? That's my question. Harvey was like, how did he know the girl's name, right? But was Drake even there?
I don't believe so. That's a plot hole.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
But I did like the little reference about the head nod because that was kind of a signature Keaton thing.
Right.
They even drew it in.
When he asks to see the car, Bruce takes him downstairs to the Batcave. And here's where, as you said, they decide to team up. And I don't mind this scene, but the dialogue does not feel right for Bruce because Keaton was very much a minimalist with his speech. Yeah. And so when I'm reading this in his voice, I have to like skip whole lines to make it feel like his character.
Yeah, it was a little wordy.
Drake sees a new bat cycle and hops on, and he suggests they team up. That's the very end. Book 5 opens with Two-Face interrogating one of the men arrested at the armored car heist. He says he'll pay double or nothing, coin flip, to rob them again. With his help, Two-Face pulls together a crew of these wannabe Joker guys. Headlines declare DA Harvey Dent a missing person, and undercover cops are keeping vigilant watch. At Barbara's apartment, she gets a surprise visit from her father. This is the first time we see them interact, and I've got to say it's a little odd imagining Pat Hingle's character having this conversation.
Right.
He's a great actor, and I've seen him in different types of roles, but seeing a whole other personal side of his Gordon is a little weird.
Well, that's what daughters can do to guys, right? Especially estranged daughters that isolate you. And what we mentioned it before, she's actually an employee of his.
It's kind of like I just watched Book of Boba Fett. It's just a little weird to give all that like personal context on a character that for decades was fully masked and very rarely, if ever, spoke.
Now you won't shut up.
Like, quit walking around without your helmet. Put it back on. It's in your hand. Put it back on. It's weird.
Right. Go on another bounty.
I kind of don't want to know as much about some of these guys, but Gordon says that he's tendered his resignation and wishes that he'd lived up to her ideals, that maybe she'll have a better chance of keeping her moral compass in this corrupt system. He also says that his proudest moment was the day that she joined the force. And as he's leaving, Barbara finds a note hidden in her newspaper. It's from Harvey, and he wants to meet. The Batmobile gets chased for speeding, really? And we see that Batman's in the passenger seat with Duke behind the wheel. I don't see this Batman allowing that to happen.
Yeah, I didn't understand why he's the passenger.
There was so much confidence too early after just meeting this person.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you trust him this much already? You just met him like 3 days ago.
And I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but I feel like the first few issues are really solid, but in these last few minutes is when we've started been like, what's why, it's getting a little bit loose here.
Well, part of me thinks that he's already encountered him once. Like you said, he told Alfred that this was like dealing with me. This kid caught him blindside, and now this kid's already figured out his identity. So maybe he wants to figure him out, and I don't want to call it this, but kind of groom him and get this kid's trust a little bit, because he can be an asset. He's already shown how capable he is. He's already given the people of Burnside a way to get rid of the police, without harming people. I don't know. So he's pretty smart. He's pretty capable. So Batman here may be just saying, okay.
I mean, it could just be that keep your friends close, enemies closer. Like, I don't know what to think of this kid, so let me just...
He's just like, let me get on his good side a little bit.
Yeah, he already figured out enough on his own without my help.
Yeah, I don't need to make more enemies, because things are kind of going sideways here.
Makes sense.
Sure, let him drive the car.
Let him drive the car.
Yeah, it's not insured. I'm good.
There is a cool part of this scene, though, where the Batmobile projects multiple holograms of itself. So there's essentially 3 Batmobiles in a line, each in a different lane, and the cops can't tell which one to follow. And this is cool, but would only work with absolutely zero traffic. And in a major city like Gotham, this is only possible due to their new curfew. It's cool, but literally only possible in this circumstance.
Yeah, pretty much. Cool feature, though.
Yeah, it's a cool idea, but not practical. Nearby, 4 subways cave in from separate explosions, and Alfred says they're all surrounding the police station. Cut to a news reporter. You guys can tell me, but this is Summer Gleason, right? I mean, they never say it, but it's got to be.
Sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah. I just think everyone's Poison Ivy. I'm like, why is it another redhead Poison Ivy?
The reporter is interviewing a police captain outside of headquarters, which they're evacuating due to a potential gas leak, right? So all these explosions underground has got the the cops evacuating the police station. And just as she's asking him about this captain is shot by an unseen sniper, and the news crew takes cover while the cops shoot it out. Gordon and Bullock are the last ones trapped in the building, and Two-Face breaks in from underground, telling his crew just to go fuck shit up. He's got all these Joker guys. Have fun for the next 10 minutes. Do whatever you want. Gordon lights up the bat signal on the roof because he smashed his communicator earlier. And Batman tells Robin to sit this one out. But Alfred sends him the bat cycle on autopilot.
So wait, now they're driving home after just triple casting the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Maybe that was just a test drive?
It seems like he's going to drop him off and then go back out, which, I don't know. Whatever. Two-Face is approaching Gordon on the roof when Batman shows up and takes him down. Gordon suspects that the target is the $31 million in cash that's in the evidence room downstairs. Batman says there's no time and grabs Gordon in his arms and jumps off the fucking roof. I love this. Across the street, Robin takes out the snipers, who admits he wasn't even aiming. This guy was like, oh, I'm just shooting into the crowd. And downstairs, Bullock tries to stop Two-Face and gets shot in the chest. Batman and Gordon intervene, but Harvey uses that fancy electronic batarang to hit Batman, which accidentally triggers the tranquilizer dart that he had loaded up in his gauntlet, and it hits Gordon by mistake.
Hate when that happens.
Yeah, I just...
Whoops.
This is where everything really kind of falls apart for me. First of all, they had Two-Face knocked out on the roof. He was splayed out on the bat signal like Falcone and Batman Begins. He had him right the fuck there. Didn't tie him up, didn't do nothing. He literally jumped off the roof to get there so fast, and Two-Face is already there downstairs, conscious, totally free.
That wasn't Two-Face. That was one of the goons on the roof. Yes. Yeah, that's one of the goons, because you can also see that all the goons are wearing those kind of Two-Face masks.
Yeah.
That are blue.
Okay, let me fucking look at this right here.
Because Two-Face wears a black and white
him in
suit.
the fucking pinstripe. Right, but it's only on one side on Two-Face's suit. Yeah, see, he's dressed just fucking like him. So, and we only see the face. It's mostly from behind. The only time we see the face is when he's actually splayed out on the fucking bat signal. So, okay, that makes sense. This is a fucking decoy. All right, you got me too. Still, we're supposed to believe that a single batarang could impact the bulletproof bat suit enough for him to like stagger and fucking misfire. Like, we've seen this guy get gunned down and be fine. I don't know, man.
Well, maybe he just was caught off guard. He's not expecting his own weapons to get used against him.
I guess. He's just not the type to flinch, you know?
This book has a lot of uncharacteristic Batman moments.
Yeah. Anyway, Bullock is bleeding out, and Gordon is now unconscious. Batman rescues Bullock, and Gordon becomes Two-Face's hostage. Outside, the cops think that Bullock is Batman's hostage and draw their weapons. Robin runs them over with the bat cycle, quite comically, like bowling pins, and Batman jumps on the back to escape. It's just seeming more and more silly as it goes on. Robin says that he took out 3 of those snipers, and Batman asks Alfred to activate the tracker on his trank dart. If Two-Face still has Gordon, they'll be able to find him. The next 3 panels are kind of random for this big explosive action sequence, but a single mother, a barbershop, and Jerome all receive large cash envelopes. Two-Face is the Robin Hood of Burnside.
And that really kind of goes back to, you know, whenever he had that meeting with the council and he's like, I want to help any way I can.
Yeah.
He hasn't forgotten that. The Harvey side hasn't forgotten that.
Yeah.
But that could also be a ploy.
Yeah, it's interesting because he has the self-aggrandizing side, but then there's also that appeal to his humanity and where he came from. I don't know if he truly knows what he wants at this point, you know?
Right. Exactly.
And Gordon asks Two-Face how much money he's given away already. He says 900,000. Gordon is cuffed, but he manages to knock over an expensive bottle of wine and
Shouldn't he have
drops
said 200,000?
200?
Well, he's Two-Face. Everything he does is...
Yeah.
Oh, I know. That's true. Gordon is cuffed, but manages to knock over an expensive bottle of wine and drops the tracker into the cuff of Harvey's pant leg. This is something so improbable that it could only happen in a drawing, not to mention that Gordon wouldn't know the dart had GPS. I don't understand anything about this. What am I missing?
Well, we know that Harvey likes wine.
And that he doesn't hem his pant legs.
Exactly.
Nevertheless, Two-Face meets Barbara in the park, and Drake follows the tracker. At the same time, we get a quick shot of Selena wearing her cowl at her desk at work, tracking Barbara's keystrokes, presumably. At the park, Barbara tells Harvey that she misses him.
Well, she's also listening in to the conversations between Batman and Robin.
Oh, Selena is right then.
Yeah, you can tell.
She's got the earpiece in.
Yeah, exactly.
At the park, Barbara tells Harvey that she misses him, but hands him a pair of cuffs and draws her gun. As he flips the coin, Catwoman jumps in, knocking Barbara to the ground. The cops open fire, and Two-Face gets away. Catwoman seemingly makes her escape past a plainclothes Drake, saying, "Nothing to see here. I don't exist, remember? Like, fucking, I heard what you said about me. I'm a myth."
Right.
Back at his hideout, Two-Face is antagonized by Gordon. "What did you expect? She's a cop." He eggs him on until Two-Face shoots him 3 times, saying, "Happy now?" And Gordon's last words are brilliant, saying, "She loves you. She'd forgive you for anything. Anything but this." That was fucking great. And Harvey and Two-Face yell at each other for having disobeyed the coin flip. You know, the coin said to leave Gordon alive, but he killed him anyway out of his pride, his ego. And on the last panel, Batman appears right there in front of Two-Face, and that is the end of book 5.
So what was the point of Catwoman's interference in this?
There's no fucking point. As the story continues, I believe she's perhaps the most visually interesting and iconic thing that we get to see in this book. I'm like, oh, wow, she's back, you know? And I think she has virtually no relevance in the story.
Part of me thinks that she overheard Batman and Drake talking about, you know, maybe Gordon planted the tracker on Harvey. So she knows that if she breaks up, you know, if she keeps Harvey from getting arrested, he'll go back to Gordon so that they can find him. That's the only way I put that sequence together.
Well, there's a dumb line in here, too, where it's like, if the cops take Two-Face, we'll never find out where he's hiding Gordon. I was like, that's literally the only way you find out where he's hiding Gordon. You're not supposed to wait for him to go back there and shoot him and hope you can catch him in time. Like, that's not a good plan.
Yeah.
The final issue opens with a great full-page headshot of Two-Face that's carved into 6 panels with typical dialogue about duality, justice, you know, all that stuff that Two-Face normally talks to himself about. Batman says that he just wants to help, but Two-Face says that his briefcase holds more power than he's ever imagined, and I'm an ambitious man, he says. Two-Face shoots Batman, which only gets him a batarang in return. Down but not out, Two-Face hits a detonator, and the whole ceiling comes down on Batman. In a nearby tunnel, Catwoman and Robin follow the cloud of dust and money. To continue on your question there, if Catwoman helped Two-Face escape, why is she here with Robin right now? I don't understand her motive.
I don't either. That's kind of where Act 3 is starting to have some plot holes. They're got to wrap it up. But
yeah, that's pretty much what it
I just
feels like.
noticed that Robin's suit there looks like a very Batman Returns type of chest piece. So he's clearly got some Batman armor now. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe they discussed it before going into the tunnel.
I don't know.
You got to fill in the gaps.
Got to do some headcanon. Yeah. Two-Face returns to the rubble asking, why did Batman call him by his first name? He called me Harvey. Why so personal? When he gets closer, he sees that Batman's cowl is half blown off. It's Bruce Wayne. Two-Face says, it's my lucky day.
And that was a part where I was like, everybody knows who you are. Why would it surprise you that somebody called you Harvey, your first name? You're a public person.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't know, man.
He didn't have a public image known as Two-Face at this point.
Right.
What else would he call him?
Two-Face hides when Robin arrives to check Batman's vitals. Catwoman says, we have to get him home to Alfred, and Robin is shocked that she also knows his identity. She says, I know yours too, Drake. Two-Face hears all of this, but stays hidden. Robin drives them home in the Batmobile, and again, they both seem sympathetic to Two-Face and his whole Robin Hood shtick. At Wayne Manor, Bruce wakes up to Catwoman and wonders if he's dreaming again. She says that the heist was orchestrated by the bank itself, and I like that it explains the man in a suit with the clown nose, just a red herring to blend in with the street gangs. And it was all to get rid of some incriminating documents. That's what was in Harvey's briefcase. And now Two-Face has dirt on the governor, the mayor, the new commissioner, a senator, and Batman himself. Bruce and Selina catch up for a moment, exploring her ambiguous ending in Batman Returns, saying he didn't know if she was alive or dead and never could find her. When the TV news declares Commissioner Gordon dead, Bruce calls Barbara to show his support.
I found it interesting that she still has so much influence over him. He really did care about her.
I mean, we saw it in Returns. He was totally disarmed by her every time.
And I mean, who can blame him?
Word.
Two-Face is already holding a meeting with these powerful people that he intends to blackmail. He demands that all their money be returned to the citizens where it belongs, and that if anything happens to him, the documents will go public. Falcone, making his first appearance in this universe, says that politicians come and go, but I run Gotham. Two-Face flips his coin and it lands on the good side. This is clever because he says the coin helps him decide, and it says to do something good for the people of Gotham. And shoots Falcone in the face. So it's kind of a good subversion of the Two-Face gimmick.
I mean, is this a Black Label book?
No.
Because this is the second headshot, and they never used to show that.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. Two-Face visits Jerome, who says that some people might not care that that money was stolen, but he does. When Two-Face pleads his case, Jerome reminds him that he brought snipers to shoot at the crowd, one that supported him even, and repeats an old saying that given enough time, everyone gets the face they deserve. Ooh, brutal. From an old childhood friend like that?
Yeah.
Two-Face flips his coin and actually shoots Jerome dead on the spot. Shortly after, Drake finds him beside Jerome's body, saying, when I'm done with you, the scarred half is going to be your good side. Two-Face brilliantly runs out to the street so that people can witness Drake assaulting him, saying that Drake shot Jerome, and they basically put Drake under citizen's arrest until the cops get there.
Two-Face basically bought some protection by being this quote-unquote Robin Hood for the people, and, you know, that was his plan all along.
That makes sense.
To put, you know, the people of Burnside against Batman, against someone to oppose him, and plant himself as basically he's really taking over and stretching his wings to take power. Yeah.
And when Two-Face arrives at the Batcave, he tries to blackmail Bruce into being his muscle. Bruce declines, saying that there's still an option to get the reconstructive surgery and recover while Batman cleans up the guilty parties here. Bruce asks if he can see that magic coin and replaces it with a fake so that Two-Face can only flip heads again. It seems like everything might actually work when Catwoman then shows up, announcing her presence by cutting down the giant penny right on top of Two-Face. And this 2-page spread is confusing to me. It seems read left to right, but Two-Face goes from holding a gun in his right hand to holding Bruce's hand, and then Two-Face climbing up and shooting the gun at Catwoman, and then both Bruce and Catwoman still at the top while lowering the rope to save him. And it must be in that order because the 6 panels at the bottom have sequential dialogue. So I know it's sort of like the duality and his 2 outcomes and all that shit, but it is not executed right.
No, this was the point that I was really hoping to discuss with you guys. At first I read it left to right, and then I was like, well, maybe it's supposed to go each side just down as a column.
Well, I tried that too, but it doesn't quite add up either way. I don't know. It seems very disjointed.
It definitely is intended to show the multiple outcomes of,
yes,
Bruce Wayne trying to help Harvey and eventually, I don't know.
I almost feel like it could have done with, like when a book will use a second artist just for flashbacks or just for some sort of distorted reality, or maybe Ito could have done something different as colorist for these projections, because I just couldn't quite make sense of what I was supposed to see. Are these each different? Are they linear? I don't know.
The coloring could have definitely helped.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of it. I just can't. I'm just staring at this page right now. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I looked at it for a long time.
Well, I mean, the first page, the coin knocks him off the platform and he falls and lands on this platform below. And then he's like, help me. Hold on, Harvey, I'm coming. So, Selena, there's a cable. And I flip the next page and Bruce is trying to reach down, but that's where...
And there's a gun to his head.
He's got a gun to his head and he's like, thanks for everything. And he shoots Bruce in the head because you see Bruce's limp body hanging over the edge, right? And Harvey is saying, here, kitty, kitty, because he's going to kill her too.
Yeah.
And then going back to that same thing, Harvey falls over.
But the other thing is, like, Bruce is laying there. He's got the gun to his head. And then the next panel points it at Catwoman. And then we see the blam. We don't get any sort of sound effect or indication that he did necessarily kill Bruce either. So that threw me off as well.
I'm just reading it like on this side. He falls off. He's hanging on the ledge.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like,
he's
in
saying,
the panel right below, there's a blam to indicate when he would shoot Catwoman, but there's not one prior to that when he would shoot Batman. It seems strange to indicate the firing of a gun the second time and not the first time.
Yeah, that could have been just like Bruce gotten up and blammed him.
And then on this page,
yeah,
I guess the good side hits because Bruce is trying to help him. He says, cracked ribs, can't pull you up. Hold on, the cable's coming.
Yeah.
He says, there's a hook on the end. Grab it. Put it under your belt. And Harvey says, I think I'm good. All right, we'll pull you back up. And then
it hooks into his hand at the
and
bottom.
then it's like the coin lands. And I have to interpret it as that lightning strike is that where that coin lands, and that's where
we're back to reality.
Yeah, we're back to reality. We're not, I don't know. It's just a weird sequence.
Even that 2 shot of the fucking coin seemed odd to me because I'm like, what am I looking at? Like, I don't
know. We'll have to ask Sam. But I mean,
well, let's move on from this one a bit. So at the end of this scene, the hook on the rope that he's dangling to save Two-Face, it actually gets caught in Harvey's hand. And he says, I can see it all clearly now. We've won. Gotham doesn't need us anymore, or whatever. And he falls into the void below.
Another Batman villain falling to his death.
That's the only way they go, This was recorded well before you guys will hear it, but just this week we had the Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger appearance on the Oscars where it's like, how did he kill you? Like, he threw me through a fucking window or whatever,
That was great. I love that.
Yeah, that was funny. And Keaton did just perfect full-on menacing Batman face.
You think they told him before what was going to happen?
That was a sketch that they came up with fairly last minute, I guess. I just watched him talk about it on Kimmel last night and was actually describing like, okay, they told him about it. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to bring an ascot so I can go full Bruce Wayne in it. And he's like, one of the, producers comes up to me and is like, okay, we're going to be doing it like right now. You're on, it's like, oh shit. And so they run out there and there's a vacant seat somewhere in the audience. Like they're planting him for the bit. And so they were running, trying to find where the fucking seat was as Arnold and Danny were coming out on stage. Like, where the fuck? Oh my God, where? Oh, here it is. And so he's like, I sit down really, really fast and then look totally like calm and collected and just like snaps on the face or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's really impressive because he looked so fucking in control in that moment. And they were just frantically trying to get him to the right seat. So Catwoman said that Two-Face was too far gone to save anyway, and that she's been chasing these stolen documents for months, but decided that Bruce's life was more important. And she says goodbye forever, taking her cat and leaving behind the collar.
She is real quick to just leave him.
Yeah.
She's not enamored with him as he is her.
No, it seemed like she's
a typical cat,
only involved in this at the prospect of getting those documents for blackmail, which, I mean, Two-Face has already set this in motion. It seems weird that she would even care at this point, but also a typical Catwoman plot, that, oh yeah, I didn't care about any of this shit. I was just going to steal the thing that he stole.
Right.
But Bruce picks up the cat collar and finds a tiny microphone on the inside. She had the place bugged all along. When the cat was the bug. I love that. Later, Bruce gives the bat cycle to Drake, and they work out a plan to have Naisha adopted by Drake's sister. Bruce agrees to leave an endowment for her when she grows up. In the final scene, Barbara receives photos of Bruce Wayne as Batman. At first, we assume it's from Two-Face. He said his death would trigger the release of all these blackmail documents, but it's from Catwoman, who was also there. And she offers to be Barbara's oracle. That's the word she uses, providing information that she couldn't obtain within the confines of the law. And this is a strange ending, since essentially Gordon's dying wish was that his daughter would be free from Harvey and resist all of the convenient shortcuts that had compromised his own career. And here we get the implication that maybe she does work with Selena. And I'm very lukewarm on this ending in general.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, that whole sequence in the Batcave, Harvey's death.
And especially reading this issue to issue, like by the time I got to the end of this run, it was like, oh, is that even worth the wait? Like, I don't know.
Well, I felt the last couple of issues were rushed. When you rush things because you have, a 6-issue or 8-issue series, you lack the details. And I don't know, I feel like if they had more details on why certain things went certain ways.
Yeah, I feel like my hard lesson, one of them that I've learned as a musician is like, I don't announce the record until the record is done. And I feel like this is always a struggle in comics of like, okay, we got our monthly deadline, we got our whatever. Great example of 2 ongoing stories right now, Gargoyle of Gotham, as well as Lee Bermejo's A Vicious Circle with Mattson Tomlin. Like, these are 2 short fucking series. They're 3 books each. If it's not anywhere close to finished, why the fuck put out the first issue?
Yeah.
The 3 books, dude. You could do it anytime. Why the fuck does it take 9 months to put out 3 issues? Like, I don't remember anything that fucking happened. I have to reread the other issue when the next one comes out. And then I have to reread those issues when the third one comes out. Because it's been so fucking long that not only do I not remember, but how can you even care if you're not like picking it up, at that point? Like, I hate watching a TV show week to week. I can't watch it fucking 3 months apart episodes. Like, it's just, I don't understand why you would have something like this that's not connected to anything, not dependent on a certain timeline, and not just have the whole thing fucking dialed.
That's why I earned the reputation as a trade waiter.
Yeah, I always was before, and the last few years I've been more into subscribing, and this was like, oh man, I have to. It's 89. I can't wait. And yeah.
Well, the selling point of the single issue floppies really was the covers.
Yeah.
And this has some great covers.
Oh, yeah. Just banger after banger. But yeah, I mean, I knew once they put out the first issue, I flipped through it and I was like, I'm waiting for the trade because I knew it was going to be like 5 issues, maybe 6 at the most.
Yeah. And it sucks because that first issue and really the first 2 were really, really strong. Yeah. And I feel like if they could have stuck that landing, man, it really would have been impressive. Before we get too far into that stuff, I have a few Easter eggs that I wanted to share. And if you guys have any others that we missed, but Drake has a Public Enemy poster at the auto shop, and Fear of a Black Planet had just come out in 1989. Drake also listens to Ice-T from the Iceberg record that came out in 89. And when they break into GCPD headquarters, the bald boombox Joker goon, he's got it up on his shoulder, just like in the museum scene, is playing Fuck the Police. And Straight Outta Compton came out in 88. So all the musical references are very tied into the era, which I like.
Well, you mentioned 2 that I was going to say, so I'm glad that, we're kind of both on the same page.
Musicians,
Yeah. Most everything else, I mean, I think we kind of discussed it. Just all the duplicity references, especially on that page 1. I thought that was kind of a neat foreshadowing.
Yeah, I didn't actually catch those.
Well, you're welcome.
All right, pros. What do you guys got?
Go Dunk.
I don't know. I think we spoke a lot about the pros. I like little hints and nods here and there. Art similar to the movie. It's a decent story. It gets a little crazy at the end.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable just because like all the nods. It's like, every page you saw, it's like, oh, look, a little DQ.
Very referential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable to look at the art. And the story's there. Just, just sticking to the pros. The story was there.
Yeah, and I like the blend, like we talked about, of the sort of accurate likenesses to the actors mixed with some of the traditional comic stylings of the characters. I thought all that stuff was really cool.
Yeah, so neat.
Gramps, what do you got?
I just found an Easter egg that I just remembered.
Well, it's too late.
Well, damn it. It's in that scene very early in the book. I think it's on like page 2, where
the Halloween scene?
Halloween thing. And the Joker that the reporter's talking to kind of has a hint of a mustache, kind of like Cesar Romero.
Oh,
nice.
Nice.
That was pretty cool. Pros?
Yes.
First of all, I mean, just how cool is it to see Keaton back in the bat suit?
Yeah, this was pre the Flash, any of that, pre the, Batgirl, any of that stuff happening. So this is our first chance to revisit this world in decades.
Yeah.
It was very exciting at the time.
Exactly. And I loved seeing Billy D. Williams get his Two-Face portrayal that we never got to see on film. I don't know why they cast Tommy Lee Jones.
I don't know why they did any of the things they did in those movies, but
yeah, who knows? But seeing Billy D. Williams as Two-Face was really cool.
Finally.
I thought the art was really strong. As we discussed, I thought Acts 1 and 2 were really strong. They built a really cool portrayal of the two sides of Gotham. And
yeah.
Socioeconomic issues going on, because that's real life. It's something that was happening back then. It's something that's happening now.
And it's something that's always relevant in a Batman story because he lives in both worlds,
Yeah. And that's also, a story about duplicity. And
yeah,
that was a really cool tie-in. I thought that was clever how they did that respectfully. And how cool was it to see? She didn't really look like Pfeiffer when she's dressed up like Selena Kyle, but as Catwoman, that looks like Michelle Pfeiffer.
She does when her hair is kind of let down, because then it has that same length that she had in Batman Returns, and that curly bouncy thing going on, is real voluminous. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Not quite as much with her hair up, I don't think, but I liked the other shots.
I think just my opinion. I'm just an amateur reader. I'm not a professional artist or anything like that. But I feel like Quinones' consistency is more when he has a mask and a cowl to draw versus a human face.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of artists are going to have a strong suit, whether it's, masked characters, female characters, male characters, monsters, whatever it is. So I totally feel you there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's easier to draw a cow and then just kind of a half face. But anyway, so yeah, those are my pros. I love all the little nods, especially when you have the Sons of Batman sprinkled throughout the book. That was really cool. Just all the Easter eggs and homages, and this clearly was like a love letter to Batman 89. We even had a shout out to Sean Murphy with the White Knight. Shout out to Frank Miller with the DKR Sons of Batman references. We have shout outs to all sorts of creators: Jim Lee,
Jim Ballant,
Bruce
Timm, all throughout this book.
I think it makes it extra special that the original screenwriter is the one pushing this, and it wouldn't necessarily feel right if someone else just decided randomly to go and pick that up. I do like that it's him, even though like with Returns, his Batman 2 script is goofy as shit. I have it and it's odd. Daniel Waters rewrote most of what we know as Batman Returns. It's a much different film than Sam Hamm had written, but I still like that, he's a guy who did work on both films, and especially the first one, so bringing him back for this is great. What do you guys have for cons?
It just feels rushed towards the end. I feel like they were building up a sequel, I guess. It would be the excuse I'll give it, how much was going on.
Right.
Some things that weren't fully explained, because it also felt rushed for that same reason.
I was kind of surprised that they announced a sequel to this, actually. I didn't think it was ever going to be more than a one-off.
That's what they're aiming for. And that's why, for me, the only excuse to have so much going on at the end.
Yeah.
It's like, have those cliffhangers. But like during issue 3 going forward, there was a lot of missing pieces.
Yeah. Gramps.
Jim Gordon died.
That was one of my favorite scenes, actually, was Gordon's death, because he still wins.
He still wins. He went out with his grace and honor.
He had been disgraced in his public role, but he simultaneously mends the relationship with his daughter and outsmarts the villain in one fucking move, just by preying on this guy's ego. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah. I don't know. I never liked the fact that Joker died in 89. That was my one gripe. I was like, man, you killed Jack Nicholson. Even though it was such a powerful move, I was like, man, you just killed any possibility of him coming back in that role, which would have been just amazing. Like what you said, some of the inconsistencies with, little plot holes, little explanations, sometimes shoehorning Catwoman into the story just to have her in the story, even though, we can mentally fill in the gaps ourselves. And then that scene in the Batcave, I must have read that 10 times trying to figure that out. And I just had to say, okay, you know what? Basically, it's just showing that there were multiple possibilities. Obviously, they're playing into the duality. In one sequence, Bruce Wayne dies. In one sequence, it's Harvey that dies.
I get the intent, but what am I fucking looking at here?
Yeah. You hit it perfectly when you said the coloring could have really helped that.
Yeah, could have done us some favors.
So that's my con. Little plot holes and that third act, sticking the landing.
Yeah, for me, it's also the writing. I think that as much as Catwoman is my favorite character on the page in this book to see with my eyes, she has nothing to do with this Burnside, Harvey, Jerome, and Drake story. Just does not belong, straight up. Yeah, that whole subplot and that fucking ending just did not work for me. So with all that said, the good and the bad, Final ratings. What do you guys say?
3 out of 5.
Yeah.
It was a good story. I enjoyed the art, clearly. And just the missing pieces complicated it a little bit. But 3 out of 5 is not a bad score.
That's what I wrote too.
I think it's going to be unanimous. For me, the art really is special in this. I like Drake Winston. His suit is really cool to me. I liked seeing Keaton as Batman. I really thought Alfred was funny in this.
Yeah, Michael Goff is always funny too.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
There were so many things that made me really like this book. Billy D. Williams, some of those pages. I mean, this one right here, like you said, where he just...
Oh, the first Two-Face shot? Yeah.
I mean, that's just gnarly, man. Yeah, 3 of 5.
Sweet. Well, it's another unanimous one for us.
Wow, look at that. 2 shows in a row.
Not bad. Not bad. So next time, we'll return back to our One Bad Day series, which I believe is Two-Face. So there you go. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah.
And then we still have Superman movies to get to. But when we get back to comics, we also have Batgirl of Burnside. So they're all gonna tie together loosely a little bit here. Have a bit of a soft theme going. That was a good time. I'm gonna go open my Robert Pattinson Hot Toys figure that finally showed up after 2 years. So
about damn time. Doesn't it suck when you have to wait that long?
Yeah, and you watch everyone get theirs who ordered them from Hong Kong sellers.
Yeah.
But, I'm excited. It's here. I've sold everything in these 3 display cases.
You have space now.
Yeah, but I've been getting these Hot Toys for Star Wars, for the first time, branching out, right?
Going down that road.
Got my Rey, got my Kylo. I just got my Han and Chewie. I haven't posted those yet. 2 different Leias and a C-3PO and a Luke Skywalker. So I got all those coming up for the opposite side of the room. But I had to spend some of that money on Batman stuff. I got that Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton that I posted the other day in the tux. Oh, man. That's such a good-looking figure.
Damn, dude, you've been going in.
Well, yeah. I mean, I sold lots and lots of statues to make the money to do that. But, yeah, I couldn't spend it all on Star Wars. I had to get some more Batman. So.
Man, I don't understand how you let go of things. I don't know. I could never sell.
I'm really bad at that stuff. I'm very sentimental, but I just started doing it and I feel so much better about my collection now. There's not just piles of shit on top of my nice display cases. There's just the nice display cases, It's more satisfying. I've stripped down everything except Hot Toys and sketches. Everything else is gone. I thought it'd be much harder, but to make an eBay listing, I got to take it out of the case and dust it off and put it back in the package and that whole process, and you photograph it. And it feels like I got my little goodbye moment with it. And, and everything there, I loved. Everything that I sold is stuff that I thought was cool enough to buy in the first place and have up on display. So it's not like I don't like you anymore.
Upgrades.
It's allowing me to continue collecting because there's only so much space and there's only so much money. So it's been something I've enjoyed for a long time up on the wall. And now it's making room for me to enjoy something new.
Nice.
All right, that is our show. I apologize for not having this up on Friday, but this was nearly a 3-hour conversation, and I really wanted to trim it down and keep it on topic a little bit. So hope you enjoy this final cut of Batman 89. As always, please help us spread the word. Give us a little repost or show people what you're listening to today with a screenshot. And we will return with the big DC film that's coming out this fucking week. And that is Joker, whatever the fuck it's called, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Lady Gaga. So we're going to catch that this weekend at the theater and then come back and report to you next week with our review of the Joker sequel.